Good morning, everybody. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with NETGEAR. Today's host is I have two gentlemen from NETGEAR. We have Mr. Jordan Cooper, Senior Account Manager, as well as Keith Nielsen, Senior Sales Engineer in North America, and both of them will be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Jordan and Keith will answer them at the end of today's presentation. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. Greatly appreciated. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Julie. Hey, thanks for everybody for joining this webinar today on NETGEAR. Today we're going to be talking about Insight. I've done a webinar about this before in the past, so if you join one of those, you'll see some familiarity to this, but hopefully this will be new to some of you. Insight has been around with NETGEAR for the past 5 or 6 years or so, and at that time, we were looking at getting away from the wireless physical controller to a cloud controller. And so looking at who was already in the market, of course, we found, Cisco's Meraki. They were pretty early on the start. NETGEAR, I think, does a lot of what Meraki does. We do about 80 to 90% of what a Meraki does, but not at the Meraki price point. And then so we also wanted to look at, be at more similar price point to more of like a Ubiquiti price point, which we all know who is very affordable, but there are some things that Ubiquiti lacks. So 5 years ago, we said, hey, let's kind of make the best of both and let's make it a Goldilocks solution for our MSPs and for VARs. So since it's been around for 5 or 6 years, it's gone through that refining fire. I think I did this webinar a couple of years ago. So it's been, if you remember that webinar, there's going to be some changes that happened. I'll go ahead and pass it off to my engineer, Keith. He's going to actually do a live demo of Insight. Due to the time constraint that we have, we're going to kind of go through it fairly quick. But we're going to touch on some key points that really make it really awesome and stand out to others out there in the space. So Keith, go ahead and take it from there.
Great. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate the introduction there. Welcome all. I'm very excited to show you the latest and greatest in Insight, our cloud management platform. What you're currently seeing is a live laboratory. This is set up between all of our SEs worldwide here at NETGEAR. And so you're actually seeing what we call true cloud. And I'll explain that in just a minute, what that means. And I'll also explain as we go through this, how we differ from a lot of other companies. So first of all, you're seeing this organizational view. This is true multi-tiered tenancy. So one big differentiator between us and Ubiquiti, they can't do this. They don't have the multi-tiered capability. We not only the multi-tiered, but multi-permissions is also available with NETGEAR. So first of all, the organizational view. It's very simple. You can have unlimited organizations. Right now I'm signed in as a pro admin, so of course I have keys to the kingdom. But if you're signed in as an owner or as a manager, you may only see 1 or 2 sites. As a manager, you may be assigned to different sites. As an owner, you'll only see what you own, 1 site only. And so that's a big differentiator. In the organizational view, I can drill down by just double clicking. From here, I can have as many locations, or the next view down, the sub-location view is what I call it. So this would be akin to like McDonald's as a main company, McDonald's in New Jersey, McDonald's in Philadelphia, McDonald's in Florida. So something like that. Here again, I can add as many of the locations as I want, simply by clicking the little plus sign, putting in some demographics, adding a picture if I choose, and I'm off and running. From here, I can double click on this and go further down. And I'm into the actual network in Munich, Germany. This is live. I'm physically sitting in Utah, and I am 8,000 miles away in an instant into Germany. It is that good. So I'm going to take a step back just a second. So we talked about managers. Yes, I can have a secondary admin, so more than one of me can sign in, and I can also add managers. Managers are people within my organization as an MSP, and I can simply come up here, and if I want, we'll make Jordan a manager, and I would just put in his email address, give him, read-write permissions. Of course, I don't see Jordan that very often, so I'm just going to give him read access only. So he'll be able to see it, touch it, but not make any changes. And we're going to assign him to China, Germany, and India today. And then I can grant him access to future organizations that I add, or I can just make him responsible for everything and kind of hamper him by only giving him read access. All I have to do is hit invite, and it will go out to his email, invite him to become a manager, and then he can take control of those networks and help me manage everything that I want. So stepping back here into Germany, what I'm seeing on this first screen is the overall health of the network in Munich. So I've got 11 devices online, 1 offline. I'll have to see what that's about. Here's any criticals or information that need attention. Those are also shown up here and have already been sent to the admin's phone or text out to him. Also, any other designees that he wants that notification to go to. Over here, if this were a live network with lots of clients on it, not a test lab, I would see wireless clients connected. Down here, I can see the data consumption on the wired side. Again, not a lot of people connecting to a lab today, so I don't see a lot. And then, of course, my neighboring access points, router traffic, etc. So a lot of information. These are called widgets. I can actually move them around, change the view, whatever I like. From here, so a big change that has been added is a topology view. So I can see at a glance how this network is connected, all their access points, switches, routers. Gives a nice little concise overview. If anything were wrong with one of these, they would turn red. So I can see at a glance what's going on. I can see its IP address, its MAC address, serial number, etc. And I could instantly go into that. So a little bit more granular view, I could pop into here. This gives me direct access to my switches, access points. There's our one device offline. It's a mobile router, so not too surprising. They probably got it out in the field and or playing with it on a bus or something. Over here, when I double click on this, I can instantly go into the device, or I can click the little pencil. This is an edit device. Over here, I have more controls. I can restart the unit, delete it, and again, edit it. So I'm just going to double click on the switch, and I'm immediately into the switch. So what can I do here? Well, there's lots. Let's just do a little mouse over. And here I'm seeing this is a wireless access point showing the neighbor's name, WAX630E. It's showing the IP address. It's a multi-gig link that's got connected on it. And, I'm drawing 11 watts currently on the unit. So let's say, as an example, this access point is giving me some problems. Need to reboot it. Well, I don't have time to hop on a plane, fly over to Germany, drive around and find this lab and, walk in, restart it, and then fly back home. So I'm just going to power cycle it from here. And so I just accessed that port and power cycled it. I can also access any port that I want and individually power cycle them. So I can have full control on what's happening on the device. I can go into VLANs and I have complete access. I can delete VLANs. Why am I doing that on a live network? Because that's my VLAN I created just yesterday. I can do that and Germany won't care. Over here, configuration. This is great. I can back up my configuration by just creating a backup. of this switch. I can save that off to my laptop. And let's say, as an example, that switch happens to fail or get RMA'd. I get a new one out. What am I going to do? Go into it and reconfigure all my VLANs and everything? No, I can simply upload my configuration back to the switch and I'm off and running. Saves tons of time in deployments. It can make my deployments cookie cutter because I can use the same configuration on the same switch if I'm using it in multiple locations. Just change some IP addresses and I'm off and running. So lots of great things here. Connected neighbors. Again, it shows me at an instance what is connected, and you're seeing those 3 devices here. But let's say I'm going to add some telephones. So, right now this has a VLAN ID of 1 and a 4088. But let's say we want to add a VLAN. So how do we do that? Well, let's go up here to our wired and go into our settings. And here I can see, available spanning tree, radius configuration, lag. But over here is my VLAN setting. So let's create a quick VLAN. Now, what's really nice is you've got this wizard that walks you through all the steps of doing a VLAN. And so here, let's just say, we want to do a VoIP network. And let's just call this one VoIP. It's going to tell me I need a data network anyway because I already have a VoIP VLAN created. So let's give it a character of, say, 15. Okay. And now what I'm seeing here is all of my switches. Well, which switch do I want to use? Well, I want to use this switch, and let's add 4 telephones that we're going to add to this network. So we need to create access ports, and there I've just done that. So those have been created. Now I need a trunk port to finish my VLAN. So I need to say that port is my trunk port, and it's added this nice little T. It's created my trunk port. Now, why isn't it showing up on my VLAN yet? Because I haven't saved anything. I haven't gone into any save buttons yet. So traffic, well, if this is VoIP, I want to give it a priority. So let's give it, 6. That's respectable. And down here, if I want radius to be configured, here's where I would do so. I'm currently not doing that for sake of time and this demonstration, so I'll just move on. Here's MAC addresses. So I can do MAC authentication. So let's turn that on and let's add some devices, if I may. So here's some devices. Okay, let's say that these are telephones, and I already know those from a pre-configured list. I can come down here and say add. And there's my new telephone list that I've done. Now, if I want to do some IP filtering, again, I can turn this on, do some IP filtering. So let's go over next. And what it's showing me here is for wireless, for VLANs on my SSID for like guest versus private VLANs. I'm not currently doing that, so I can just skip past this. My DHCP server is being run off of my router, so I wouldn't do this necessarily on this switch. So I can just click none, and it's going to give me a little warning. Yes, I'm going to skip past it. That's fine. And here I can hit confirm, and I've saved that VLAN, and all is done. Now let's go ahead and hit save, and I'm actually creating a VLAN. Now, what have I forgotten? Well, I forgot to tag the VLAN. I forgot to add a PVID. I have forgot to do some things. So let's go back and make sure that this is going to run for me. So I'm going to go back into the switch. And here's my ports. Now, again, it's not showing me port 25 on there. So let's go in and let's figure something out. Actually, VLAN 15. So here is my VLAN ID, my PVIDs, and there's 15. So let's add that. And then over here, let's come down, and VLAN 15 is chosen. Let's tag it so it understands how to generate that traffic. So now all I have to do is hit save. And then when I step back out to my switch, I can see that that port, and this may take a second, there it is, 15 is now been added. And C number 2, it automatically populated. I didn't have to do each individual port because they're already part of that VLAN. Also 23 is now part of that VLAN because that was my trunk port. So now it's complete and that VLAN will work. So I've got everything all completed there. Some other new neat things that have been added to not only this switch, but Insight. So SNMP, before we didn't have that available, now it is. We can also do syslog configurations, which is great. So you have some neat new tools that you can use with Insight, DNS gateway, some routing configurations, things like that. And here's a complete network VLAN setup. And of course, some great things. If you forget anything that I've done or taught you today, here's tutorials. How to create an SSID, how to create VLANs, how to set up mesh, how to do a firmware update. So some great new stuff. So let's talk about firmware updates. Here's a little firmware update, and I can manually go in and do this old school. So here's an access point and it needs an update. Well, I could click on this and let it download and reboot, but why do that when I can create an automatic schedule? So every Saturday, this is going to go out and search for any updates to Insight, and it will download the updates, reboot the devices, and bring them back online. Now, that's kind of scary, I have to admit. As a network admin, what happens if I only do the router? Then everything else behind it never gets updated. Well, because Insight understands topology, it will actually start here at the access points. And it will do these, and then it will do the switches, and then last of all, the router, so that everything gets covered in a firmware update. So you don't have to worry about only one device getting updated and everything else failing, which is really, really nice. Over here, I have my standard troubleshooting tools available: ping test, trace route, speed test, and that's great. But what if I need more help than that? So I've got NETGEAR right here at my beck and call. I can click on technical support, and it will automatically update, and they'll be able to grant access to the network, and our technicians will come in and actually help you troubleshoot. Some new things that are available. We have a brand new router called our PR60X. It supports site-to-site VPN. So we can actually create and configure VPN on our brand new router. Wireless, also available. Great new things with wireless. We've got complete controls in our wireless settings. I can come over here. I've got SSIDs. I can add additional radios if it supports the new Wi-Fi 6E protocols, security, all the way up to WPA3 Enterprise. I have different modes for my access points, so I can put them in bridge mode so they'll seamlessly roam and do mesh, and I can do client isolation. I can put them in NAT mode. So if it's a dormitory and I don't want that student to have access to other students next door, I can isolate those students on their own access point, which is kind of cool. Other things I can do, again, adding VLANs directly to the access points, so I can set up guest versus private access, band steering, client isolation, many, many things. Some brand new features down here, multiple pre-shared keys. This is so I can set it up like a mini Radius server. So I can set up 11 different VLANs, so that people can actually have their own username and password and sign in specifically to them on their own VLAN and their network. So some great tools. Jordan, did you have anything else you wanted me to show?
No, Keith, thanks so much for showing that. I think that was fantastic. I think, Julie, I think we now, with just a little time that we have remaining, let's go ahead and just open it up to some questions.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for that wonderful presentation. And I do have some questions for you. Let's get started with the first one. Here we go. Is the NETGEAR world versions, are they world versions or each item separated by country?
So we sell different products worldwide, and the SKUs are separated by different country versions because of power requirements. But Insight is worldwide, so there isn't a different SKU for worldwide because Insight is software. And Insight actually exists directly on each individual device.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next question here for you. It reads, can you change owners without the original account? For example, I have come across a few jobs where we had to factory reset when shifting techs. We would prefer a way to move ownership after the fact if ownership changes hands. Any thoughts on that?
Typically with owner and owner rights and owner permissions, as you go in and create an owner, you can actually have that changed if you work with our post-sales support team, so that becomes a little bit easier process.
Thank you so much. Next question here for you. Does Insight have the same features regardless of what site you're looking at, or are each customizable?
Pretty much the same features across the board worldwide. The only thing customizable would be your individual VLANs or configurations per site or per location.
Thank you very much. Next question here. Does Insight offer network design tools that we can send to customers with topology and BOM?
So besides Insight, NETGEAR has a service called Pro Wi-Fi Design, where we will actually help you to design a Wi-Fi network, give you a complete list of materials or a BOM of those materials. We'll also give you a complete report of heat mapping, how the access points should be placed and where they should be placed, and how to get the most out of your Wi-Fi. And so that's an extra tool on top of that, where we can assist you with that and help you. That's a free service.
And it's to add to that, it's about 95% accurate, guys. So super accurate.
Thank you guys so much for that. Excellent. Next question here. Are there any plans for future firmware updates or product enhancements for the SOHO unmanaged switches?
So currently the Plus switches, they've already gone through some updates. They're still locally managed only and not part of Insight. We continue to add new switches that are part of the smart managed class of switches, and all of those moving forward will be Insight managed. But all of our unmanaged and Plus switches, those will still be locally managed, and switches or unmanaged switches are just pretty much plug and play. There's actually no interface on them.
Thank you very much. Couple more questions. Next one here. Does Insight Pro App provide real-time monitoring and reporting?
Yes, it does. So Insight, your notifications are sent out within 30 seconds. So if anything goes wrong or has an issue on the network, what we consider critical, port down, line down, device down, those are sent out within 30 seconds to the notification people, such as the admin, the managers, things like that. And that's really the difference between being proactive or reactive. Most other services out there that are cloud managed, your reaction time and your notifications are anywhere between 6 and 15 minutes before it actually sends you a notification.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Next question here. Does the app support firmware updates for connected NETGEAR devices?
So this does support firmware updates. They do have to be Insight manageable to receive the Insight updates.
Thank you so much. Just one or two more questions here. Can users set up alerts and notifications through the Insight Pro app?
Yes, on their app on their phone, you can set that up. Also, within Insight itself, up here under account management, you can set up who gets notifications. Also, you can manage your subscriptions and so forth. You can do this also on the app on your phone. Another advantage of the app on your phone is when you're adding devices to the network, instead of getting this where you've got, to add a device, you have to manually put in the serial number. On the app, it'll pop up a barcode scanner. Much, much easier to use.
Excellent. Sounds great. Last question here for you. What security measures are in place to protect data when using the app?
So currently, because Insight is downloaded directly to each individual device, so the security that's in place is simply on your app. It looks like a call coming from the inside of the network outward, not outward in. Also, you don't have to set up a VPN or a proxy device. Insight is directly manageable because of the software existing on each individual device. So you don't have to open ports in a firewall. You don't have to, have a on-premise controller or cloud controller device. And those are always points of failure or points that can be attacked because they have to have an IP address. So, Insight, because it looks like the call is coming from the inside of the network outward, it's tough to grab that, hack it, get into it.
Excellent. Thank you, Keith and Jordan, so very much for being with us today and answering all of those questions for us. And if anyone has any further questions, of course, please contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned and shown here today, please remember this webinar presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel so we can all view it again. Of course, please reach out. If you do have questions, we can get those answered right away for you. Thank you again, Keith and Jordan. You guys are great. We will talk again soon, and we'll set up the next webinar, within the next couple of months, or in this particular case, we've got part 2 coming next week. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Julie.
You're welcome. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.